Hello guys, my kid Dezaras Prime back with another Combiner Wars review, and this one is about Leader Class Ultra Magnus. Now, just a quick note, I have already recorded my top 10 because I wanted to do the top 10 while all my Combiner limbs are all separate and shit, so I could get the individual figures reviewed or listed, and then I could fucking put them all back together and give myself more room. So that's what I've done. So there might be stuff you'll hear me say about Ultra Magnus in that video that I'll repeat here, even though I said it first in that video, if that makes sense. Spoiler alert, he made the list. So, yeah, Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. I fucking love this. I don't want the Masterpiece Ultra Magnus because I have this. That's how good this toy is to me. Because when the Masterpiece Magnus came out, it was right before Masterpiece Star Saber. Like, there was barely a few months between it. And it was a case of I was going to have to choose one or the other at that moment because I didn't have the money for both. And I obviously went with Star Saber because Star Saber is my second favourite Transformer. Always wanted a Star Saber. I had Ultra Magnuses. Didn't have this at the time, but yeah, so I went with Star Saber. Still don't have an MP Ultra Magnus, but I have two of this. One is my camera stand at the minute, the Platinum Edition that I got last week at time of recording. But this figure just makes me happy in so many ways. It makes me not yearn for a Masterpiece Ultra Magnus because I have a big... I think the major selling point with the Masterpiece for me was it was big. And Ultra Magnus was always like the Optimus Prime cab in this big ass fucking trailer mode. And the other versions of Ultra Magnus I had were all smaller than most of my Optimus Primes. Voyagers matched up pretty evenly, but none of my Ultra Magnuses were bigger than my Optimus Primes. This one isn't bigger than my Leader Primes, but he does the job. He's big enough for me. And he looks great. He's very IDW based with his paint job. And not just that, but with certain things in general. I love the face sculpt. He has that typical Ultra Magnus stoic, do as you're told or I'll send you to bed with no dinner look. Not thrilled about the green goggles, but I'd rather they're in blue, but it's fine, it breaks it up. It makes sense, especially when you consider the fact that the main thing that should be a turn-off for me with this figure is that it's IDW based, and in IDW it isn't even really Ultra Magnus. If you pull the chest piece down and open up the cab, there's a little dude sat inside him. The little dude being Minimus Ambus. So yeah, I'm not even mad at the fact that this isn't, for all intents and purposes, the true Ultra Magnus within the IDW continuity. I'm not even bothered by the fact that it's a little dude. Can't really see it very clearly there. I'm not even bothered by the fact that it's a little guy riding a dead man's body, wearing a dead man's armour. So I think there was like 5 Ultra Magnuses in the IDW continuity that were all, the original died, and they were like, well, fucking the world needs Ultra Magnus, so we'll just make someone else wear the Ultra Magnus power armour, which I really like actually, and Minimus Ambus was the latest one, I believe. He was at the time of release anyway. It's not showing up very good. When I get to the comparison, because I'll need Minimus Ambus out of the truck for the transformation, I'll do a more in-depth, we'll try and get a better focus on Ambus then. But yeah, so Minimus Ambus is just basically sat inside Ultra Magnus's corpse, piloting it. And I just... Let me see if I can get him back in. Joe, he doesn't even need to be sat in there for now, so I'll just close Magnus up and I'll leave Ambus out for now. It leaves a bit of a gap there where Ambus would flesh it out, but that's fine. One thing that I thought about recently was that Ultra Magnus is kind of like, in terms of IDW and in terms of a singular continuity, he's like their first legacy character. Like, when Barry Allen died in the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, Wally West took over as the Flash. When Oliver Queen died, fucking Connor Hawke took over as the Green Arrow. You have all the legacy fucking Robins. You had Dick Grayson, you had Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne. I mean, even when Bruce Wayne was presumed dead, Dick Grayson took over as Batman. DC and Marvel and that, they have a lot of legacy characters. And it's a way to keep that character going with a fresh take. And Transformers never really did that. Now, you could argue that G1 Optimus Prime to Power Master Prime might be a legacy character, but it wasn't. It's still the same Optimus Prime, just with someone else helping him out. G2 Prime is still the same. It's always the same Optimus Prime within that continuity. You can't even say Primal isn't an Optimus Prime, so that doesn't work. RID Prime or Car Robots Prime isn't the same Optimus Prime as G1 Optimus Prime. So they're not legacies. That's not a legacy character. That's a different continuity each time. G1, RID, Unicron Trilogy, movies, animated, Prime, etc. They're all different continuities. So you can't really call them legacy characters. They're different iterations completely. It's like having Earth 1 Superman and then having the Red Sun Superman. Two completely different versions of the same character. So Ultra Magnus isn't that though. Ultra Magnus is a legacy character. He's like Robin without selling either one short, because Ultra Magnus was deemed to be always necessary, so they put someone else, some other little Minimus dude, into the Magnus power armor, and he carries on that way. And I really like that aspect. It adds something new to Ultra Magnus. And yeah, I really dig that. His weapons that clip onto the side of his legs, or he doesn't hold them very well. Power Master Prime has tabs that the weapons can clip into, because this was retooled into Power Master Prime. He has the rifle, standard rifle there, doesn't fire anything, doesn't need to. I don't like missiles or anything. Then he has a different rifle that has the bigger barrel at the back. Yeah, they're pretty standard. They're nothing to write home about. Main selling point's obviously this guy, and he looks great. He's got the missiles on the shoulders, as per usual. He carries a lot of the G1 Magnus elements with the extended shoulder stacks, and the helmet, the face, is very G1, and the red, white and blue, but it's also in the IDW way as well. You've got some gorgeous silver detailing there on either side, and then this nice chest piece with the red underneath, and then you've got the gold lights down there that really add a lot to this figure. Some nice ridging and detailing in the shoulders and sculpting on the chest. It looks like an angry face there. It looks like someone else's face is in there as well, actually. Like, you could make a transfer. You should have made a Titan Master out of that resembled his chest piece. You go down to the legs, and some nice detailing again on the shins and even on the hips. Some panel lines there and some ridges and vents, and then silver paint there with the red sort of cut off arrows going down, and the feet are sculpted nice as well. You go around the side, some nice detail in there. It's like a ladder there, and then round the back again, nice detailing on those back panels. Back of the legs are a bit hollow. I'm not crying over that, don't care. Some nice detailing on the forearms, and yeah, again the missiles. And there's obviously the wheels for the cab mode. So yeah, a very nice figure. He's big, he's blocky, he's got some weight to it, but he's like from those later lines where figures started getting a bit lighter. He's heavy, but he's not overly heavy. He's not like Revenge of the Fallen or Masterpiece 01 Prime heavy. He's very manageable, and just the colour scheme is great. When I get to I'll do a comparison between him and the Platinum Edition one, because there are some differences there that I'm really looking forward to exploring. I can see some of them right now under my camera phone. But yeah, that's points of articulation. His head can only go that way. It doesn't have a 360 because it's on a thing that it pulls up, obviously a lever that it pulls up to let out Minimus. Arms can go out to a degree. If you can lift those up as well. These side missile, shoulder missile launchers can go up to give him more of a... he can spread his arms out a bit more as well. He still can't want to be a tree, but I mean, I guess you could if you took the missiles off. But yeah, it goes out enough. And then obviously forwards all the way around. Elbow bend. No wrist articulation, but he has extendable fingers. It's mainly for holding the gun. Well, it's a nice touch nonetheless. And all the fingers are... he's got one little trigger finger sticking out, but they're all moulded together. Much like for the Cybertron Blaster, you might say. Legs go out. They go forward. Nice ratchets and clicks there. Knees bend. Very nice knee bend. And a little bit of foot action. Not much of an ankle tilt, but the foot can get, but that's mainly again for transformation purposes. Yeah, he's articulate, he's big, he rocks the Magnus look, he brings something new to the table in terms of the character, and I fucking love this figure. But let's get to, let's compare him with the Platinum Edition and see what the differences are there. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out, Platinum Magnus still has the Minimus Ambus in his chest, so you can see how it fills out the shoulders a bit more. Still a bit of gappage, but not as bad as that when you don't have Minimus Ambus in there. Oh, looks like I was wrong about, yeah, the normal Magnus's goggles aren't green, they're a lighter blue. But yeah, Platinum Magnus they don't look green anymore. I could have swore they were green. I don't know, it might be the camera, or it might just be my own fucking eyes. But, you know, they do have something of a green tint on them, which is fine if Minimus is piloting, because Minimus has a green colour scheme, so it's almost like his consciousness coming through the goggles. But again, it doesn't look as green now as it did. And yeah, I feel like a bit of a twat for that, sorry. The main difference to take away from these is the shade of blue. I mean, this one has the more IDW blue colour scheme. This one is more G1 and it is fucking beautiful. I fucking love the blue on this guy. The one thing I will say I don't like is that there are different... It's like with the Platinum, you get extra like metallic paint on them, like the forearms here and the chest piece, but the shoulders aren't metallic, the waist isn't metallic, and neither are the legs. It's just the chest and the forearms. I'd have happily sacrificed metallic paint here and kept it that same shade of blue, but it doesn't look too bad. Sculpting is the same. You still got that angry face there. Angry face there. But I believe this Magnus has yellow lights, and this Magnus has the orange lights. And also, Magnus, the Platinum Edition, has the blue waist and crotch with a white circle painted there. Whereas Magnus, the standard Magnus, has the all-white crotch and waist piece. Yeah, still, both of them are fucking gorgeous. Let's bring them around to the side. Just check the detailing out there. Yeah, this Platinum Edition Magnus came in a box set with a Generation Springer, RC, Blur and Cup. Springer was repainted from his Generations version in more shiny colours. RC, she's good as well. Blur is the Drift retool or repaint or whatever. And Cup is basically just the Sergeant Cup, which, again, I like. I've got Sergeant Cup twice now because one of them had a flimsy head. But, yeah, I bought that second hand. But, yeah. So it's obviously designed to evoke Ultra Magnus from the '86 animated movie. No paint differences down here to report other than a different shade of blue. The white and the silver and the red are all the same as on this version, as you can see. The feet are the same. Premium Magnus has the same guns. That's why I haven't taken them off. But yeah, all in all, two very gorgeous fucking figures there. I love both of these. Can't pick a winner out of them, but they're both fucking amazing figures. Anyway, let's get Magnus into his vehicle mode and check him out there. Okay, so that took a bit longer than expected because I had to do a bit of preparation. This wasn't the tricky part. This is Magnus's alt mode, his vehicle carrier. There's a lovely little chuck that's very distinct, or at least it was at the time. It doesn't quite say Earth alt mode, does it? Excuse me. It looks very Cybertronic. Oh, I've left the panel out there. Yeah, it looks very alien, the cab does. Which I kind of dig. I like that it could fit in on Earth, but there's just enough of it. I mean, look at that angry fucking face again. Take the chest piece off and he's still angry. I love it. And the nice silver detailing down the side there that you don't get to see when he's in robot mode. The painted silver smokestacks. It doesn't detach from the trailer. I mean, you can if you want to get a screwdriver on it or something, but no. Up top, it's a bit, there's things and fucking parts and, gaps and shit. It's fine though. You're not looking at it from the top here though. And like I said, the detailing on the side of the legs, those ladders really come out now, really nicely. I think there's a door there. Where are you going to go? In there? I'll just go up the ramp. But yeah, all in all, very nice vehicle mode. He is a vehicle carrier though. So what I wanted to do, this was where the preparation came in. I wanted to test how well he does at carrying vehicles. So to figure out the best way to do this. Let's bring the camera down. Right, if I turn him round, the camera might sit flush up his back of his leg, like so. There we are. Okay, so we've got Magnus in his vehicle mode, his vehicle carrier mode. And I've decided, because I can't remember the G1, how well that did, but I know that the RID version, that carried deluxes really well. I can't remember if it was 2 or 4, but I know it. You could put your deluxes in there nicely, and you could get a decent amount of vehicles on the carrier mode. So I've got deluxes, I've got Power of the Primes Jazz, and Punch Counter Punch. So we're going to see how well they stack up, and we're going to, little drawback there, the ramp doesn't go all the way down, so you can do a little wheelie to get in there. And it stores a deluxe nicely enough. You will obviously, once you've got the deluxe in there, you'd probably have to do the top row first. Oh, Punch's gun fell down. My fucking sleeves again. So yeah, you probably need to lower it and then bring it out. Put the car on top, raise it, and then do Jazz if you want it to be a continuity freak. Punch can go right at the front there, but I'm pretty sure Jazz won't fit on there as well. No. So you're basically looking at, in terms of carrying vehicles, 2 deluxes, which is still decent. Can you actually lower those properly? Give it an effective. Let's have a look. So you can, in a way. It's not as it doesn't work as well as it does with the G1 or even the RID 2000 versions, but you can still do it to a degree. So let's put them back in. Okay, so it carries 2 deluxes. It's a decent amount of number, but I kind of feel like with it being a Combiner Wars figure, I feel it was mainly designed to carry scouts, or the the Legion class, not the Legion, Commander class ones, or I call them scouts. You've got Legends and Scouts, that's the era I came from. Scout wise, I've got 07 Clocker and Reveal the Shield Wind Charger, and we're going to see how well they fit in. So Wind Charger goes in there, get him as far to the front as possible, and then we'll try and see if we can put Clocker in. Ah, see, even Scouts you're struggling to get 2 in. On the top. Top's a bit of a tight fit. So you could have a couple of Scouts on the top and then a deluxe in the bottom. But you can't fit 2 Scouts in the bottom. And one of the Scouts, there's a bit of an overhang there, if you look around there. So it's it does a good job, I'd say, of it does a good job as a vehicle carrier. Obviously, it can't carry fucking a dozen cars like real life vehicle carriers can, and I honestly expected it to do better with the Scouts. I mean, you can have 2 on the top, but you can only have 1 in the bottom still. I don't know if I'd risk going any smaller than Scouts, to be honest with this, because there's the gap's in the top. So you could probably have 2 Scouts on the top and then a couple of Legends size ones in the bottom, but I feel like 2 deluxes is decent enough. Like, a couple of deluxes need to ride out to battle, maybe they get a flat in transit or something like that, or they need to ride home. You could fit a couple of deluxes on Ultra Magnus, no problem. So it serves its purpose as a vehicle carrier. I just seem to recall RID 2000 Magnus doing it better. But that's not to take away, because RID 2000 Magnus is again a fantastic toy. The reviews on my Dezaras Prime Plus 1 channel. But yeah, I think there was a compromise with proportion with the RID 2000 Magnus, because he was leggy. He had legs and he knew how to use them. And how he used his legs was carry fucking cars. Lots of cars. Whereas this one, it's more streamlined, not as leggy, it's better proportioned, and as a cost of that, it's only a minor cost. The minorest of costs is that he can't carry as many vehicles in his carrier mode, but he can still carry at least 2. 3 if you go 2 Scouts, 1 Deluxe. More if you go Legends, don't know. Anyway, I've got to go and get ready to fetch the kids. I'm not done with this review, I'm just letting you know that when I come back later for the comparison with Premium Magnus's vehicle mode, it might be a bit darker. So, yeah, back in a bit. Okay, so before we get to the vehicle comparisons of Ultra Magnus, I want to show off Minimus Ambus pretty quickly. The one on the left is the Platinum Edition, the one on the right is the Standard Edition. As you can see, there's a few different paint applications. Platinum has darker greens, especially down the middle there, and he also has the lighter green paint app on his waist that Standard Minimus Ambus, is lacking. The faces as well, try and get them as focused as I can, also have different paint apps there. Standard and Minimus kind of looks like, off you fuck then. It's really hard to focus on the little guy, especially this one because it's so small. Don't know how I'm going to show off the whole fucking Masterpiece Star Saber review. Right, let's bring it back a bit. There we go. That'll have to do. The red eyes are there. Light green face piece, and it looks like he's got like the dark green mustache with the dark green collar. And then if you look down, he has light green on his shins and black feet. But if we take him out, and I'll just show Platinum Ambus, Platinum Minimus. Let's let it focus a bit. Come on. Looks like we're getting somewhere now. It's really hard to show off these characters because they're so small. But obviously Minimus has the don't know where to put, there we go, that's a decent spot. It looks like Platinum Minimus has the goatee as opposed to just the mustache. He's got like the little soul strip that goes underneath the mustache. Light green chest with the dark green collar, and it goes into the abdominal area. And then if you look down, it's the same. I think it's a different shade of green, or it might be the same shade of green that Standard Minimus does, but it looks a bit darker. It might be because it's hidden by a lot more dark green. It's the same foot setup, and Platinum Minimus has the chest paint that goes all the way, covers the whole chest, whereas Standard Minimus just looks a bit like a tie. So, and they do transform. I'll just quickly get them transformed. Okay, so I've only transformed one because it can be quite awkward, but basically Minimus Ambus transforms into this little Cybertronic Minicon car type thing. This is the standard Minimus that I've transformed. I've left Platinum Minimus untransformed, but he has green paint on the spoiler. So if he was a car, he would have the green paint on the spoiler, but that would be the only difference that I could tell. So I mainly left one of the Minimuses so I could show the points of articulation. They have no head tilt. Just give me a sec, see if I can do this trick here again. Bollocks. Sorry. Okay, so he has no elbow joints or no wrist joints, but he's got ball jointed shoulders, so the arms can go all the way around. No waist swivel, like I said, no head movement. Knees can go out, but they're hindered by the kibble a little bit. The car part, they go forward. The legs do, sorry, not the knees. The knees bend, so that's something. So he is a very articulate little fella, but he needs to sit in Ultra Magnus's chest, doesn't he? Anyway, let's get to the Magnus parts themselves, because that was fucking awkward to shoot. Okay, so here we are with the two Ultra Magnus toys in their vehicle modes. Both carry the same amount of cars. I'm not going to go back into that because I haven't got much space here. Few differences. It's not just the paint that's different, but if you look at the Magnus cabs, this is the standard one, which has the nice silver. I'm really struggling to get focus on here. Has the silver grill that goes around the bumper with the orange lights, and then Plat Magnus has same silver with the orange with the silver bumper, but he also has the yellow lights. And if you come around to the side, standard Magnus has the silver stripe that goes around there. They both have the same black windows, but Platinum Magnus has a blue stripe that goes around. And he also has the silver footstand there that the driver would get up and that sort of thing. He also has blue back end of the truck. The flatbed part is blue, as opposed to standard Magnus, who is white. So it's definitely rocking the classics Magnus look, this one is. That's the best way I can compare it. Best thing I can compare it to. It's got more of a classics Magnus vibe about it. Coming up, everything else is almost the same, bar for the bed of the trailer, which is white on standard Magnus before the chest piece folds down, and it is blue on premium Magnus or platinum Magnus, whichever way you want to call it. I think it's because of the paint, but because he's got the metallic forearms, they don't tab together as nicely as I'd like. They sit there fine once you've got everything in place, but standard Magnuses do tend to tab together a lot nicer. But yeah, those are your comparisons. I love both of them. Honestly, can't pick a favourite. They both have different qualities. Obviously, standard Magnus seems a lot more coherent due to it being... There's no special paint on there, no metallic paint on the standard Magnus that makes it look a bit weird in places. Whereas with this Magnus, it's got the metallic blue chest and the metallic blue forearms, and that's it. It blends nicely enough, but it's a case of transformation can be a bit awkward with the forearms, and also a bit of a worry with the chest. Like, keep pressing it down into the back there. How long before that chips? That's a concern. But yeah, all in all, it's a fucking fantastic figure in both iterations. I love both of them. Can't pick a favourite. Yeah, they're just great. And a very nicely done Ultra Magnus figure that really serves to I think the best, it's like I said before, I'm not looking for a Masterpiece Magnus now because I have this. This is a decent enough substitute for the Masterpiece Magnus in my opinion. I think that's the best way to look at it. Okay, so those are my thoughts on Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. It is a fucking fantastic figure. I really love it. And it spawned a decent Power Master Optimus Prime as well. So, yeah, points for that. And Super Jinrai. So, good job all round. I fucking love the figure so much. It is one of my favourites. Not just in Combiner Wars, but not just in Prime Wars. It's one of my favourite figures. It's that good. And it's not even a masterpiece. But to me it is, in a way. So, yeah, I'm going to stop gushing about it. I'm going to go feed my son, doing his tea. I'm going to be back later with the Devastator reviews. So, yeah, Combiner Wars is almost at the end. We're getting there. We just need to get through Devastator. Then we can move on to Titan's Return, where it hopefully be a lot more relaxed and less repetitive. I've been Dezaras Prime. Thank you for watching. You shall see me next time.